Hello folks, this is Stefan with your GoJet Pilot Group Communications Committee, and today what we're going to look at is expenses, expense reports, and how you get repaid for your expense report. One of the ways that pilots will incur some expenses is through using parking at a commuter airport. Our CBA under Section 6, Travel Expenses, subsection G, actually covers parking at commuter airports. Here, item number 2 says, a pilot may elect to decline parking for his vehicle at his domicile and elect to have the company reimburse him for parking at an alternate location. The amount the company will be liable for at a pilot's alternate location shall not exceed the amount the company pays at his domicile. So in essence, what they're saying is, if you are going to have a commuter airport and expense parking there, try not to have the expenses at that parking facility outweigh the expenses of parking at your base, say for example, St. Louis or Newark. Also, it's important to send an email to your base manager informing them officially of what airport you will be parking at as a commuter airport. This way they know once you start filing expenses at that airport, it's legitimate and that's your commuter airport. All right, let's move on. Where do we find a expense form? We'll go to info.gojetairlines.com where we have our basic menu here, and then in the bottom left, click on Employee Website. You'll be met with the login page. Log in. All right, then in the top left-hand corner here, you'll see the corporate publications and forms. So go ahead and click on Forms. When you do, this list will populate itself. All right, let's take a look at accounting. That's right here, the GJ expense report. Click on that. Once you click on that, it'll produce a PDF that's also printable from your browser. So what I suggest is print one out and put it into a file, and you can photocopy that one over and over again. That way you don't have to keep on going back to the website and printing it over and over again. All right, let's take a look at some more details as to what this form entails. All right, here's the form blown up a little bit more, and what I've done is I've filled it in with red font as to what you guys need to include on this. All right, in the top left-hand corner, naturally a name and your employee number across the top. The crew type, a captain or first officer, the base, be it St. Louis, Richmond, Newark, include that as well. We're all in the flight ops department there in the top right-hand corner, followed by an email address and a telephone number. What I've done here under the business purpose is I've included a very brief synopsis of what this expense report includes. This example just has parking as a basics. I do it in quarters, and quite frankly, that saves me a lot of trouble of trying to synchronize which email and which expense report went along with what expense reimbursement on whatever pay stub I'm looking at. This makes life simple not only for you, but it also cuts down on the work of the payroll department, the chief pilot, and your base manager. Keeps life simple. All right, let's take a look here. In the center of the expense report, you'll see that I have listed each month independently, and then I've totaled it on the right. Had I had anything like taxis or Ubers like that, I would include that in the grand total just below the total. But as it is, this was just parking. One important part that I see a lot of pilots miss out on is this lower right-hand corner certification area. You do have to make sure that you've signed it, you've dated it, you include your employee title and your employee number. This is the way the accounting department certifies that this is from a real human being and somebody's not just trying to leech off the company. So make sure you fill that in. It's an important part of the process. When you are combining your expense reports and your invoices and receipts into a PDF, make sure that you utilize a tool that turns several pages into one big PDF. That way you don't have 6 or 7 documents attached to one email. And also remember, every scan tool has the ability to orient pages. Make sure that the pages that you've scanned all are right side up, not upside down or sideways. The folks that are reviewing these don't want to have to put their computer screen on their side just to read your expense report. All right, let's continue on. So now that you have scanned this form and you've included scans of your invoices and your receipts, let's take a look at who you email this off to and when. Usually the best time to email in an expense report is the last week of the month. That way it will appear on the paycheck that's the 15th of the next month. Email it to your base manager. Base managers do change, so make sure that you look in your TransStates Holdings directory or GoJet management directory for the current email address for your current base manager. They'll take a look at it and make sure that all of the expenses in it are bona fide and verifiable expenses. Then they'll email that off to the chief pilot, where they too will certify it, make sure that it's all legitimate. And in turn, they will email that off to payroll with an order to pay the expense. That expense will then later appear on the paycheck of the 15th. So let's take a look at where that expense reimbursement will be found on your pay stub. Here I've gone to www.paycor.com and I've clicked on the pay stubs link. You'll see a number of PDFs that make themselves available for each paycheck that you've received over the course of your employment here. Click on the one that is applicable to your expense report and then zoom in on your deductions section. You might be saying, what? Deductions? Well, actually in accounting, your expense reimbursement is viewed as a debit. It's actually a credit to you, but in accounting, they're expressed as debits. So you'll find your expense reimbursement here under the expense reimburse moniker. It's also denoted with a minus symbol here, but again, that's credited to your account and you're getting paid for it. Here I've expensed, this is a 6-month period, so I have a rather large expense reimburse here on my pay stub. If you don't see your expense reimburse on the pay stub of the 15th of the next month, give them one more cycle, make sure they're all caught up. But if you are having problems getting your expenses paid, of course, contact the union and we'll be able to help you out. Outside of that, that's the breakdown on expenses, expense reports, and expense reimburse. We'll see you on the line.